It can be easy to think that living off the land is all about big things, big harvests, big projects, big flashy changes. But the truth is, it's all about the small everyday stuff, the daily chores, the endless experiments, and the millions of little projects that pop up out of nowhere. It's the normal and even mundane everyday maintenance and routines that keep a homestead running smoothly. My garden is almost completely planted, but there's always some loose ends here and there. Today I plan to knock out some random garden chores, tend to my container garden, tackle a painting project with Cody, and even show you an exciting development in the kitchen that I've been obsessed with the last few weeks. While none of these tasks seem like a big deal on their own, together they form the foundation of this lifestyle. For those of you that follow me on Instagram, you probably already know that lately I have been completely and utterly obsessed with fresh milled flour. It took me a couple weeks to get the hang of it after, years and years of baking beautiful bread, beautiful pastries with whole wheat flour. I switched to fresh milled flour and I was like turning out bricks. It was really, really discouraging, very humbling. And I mentioned my struggle on Instagram. A whole bunch of people responded to my message and were like, oh, you should check out Grains in Small Places. She did a lot of explaining about how you need to soften the germ and the bran in the fresh milled flour, because if you don't, the germ and the bran is very sharp in fresh milled flour and it will actually cut your gluten strands as you are kneading the dough. So as those strands are forming, the germ and the bran are sharp and they will cut it, and so you can't get anywhere with your dough. She has a whole blog full of recipes specifically made for fresh milled flour, and it has been incredibly helpful. She has definitely mastered fresh milled flour. I have made chocolate chip cookies that are delicious and chewy, and they're not crumbly or cakey at all. I have made beautiful stretchy bread. I've made biscuits and pancakes, all kinds of things that have turned out so incredibly beautiful, and I am so pleased. The three main things that have helped me in mastering fresh milled flour breads and stuff is, number one, especially when you're starting out, definitely only use recipes that actually call for fresh milled flour, that are actually specifically meant for fresh milled flour. The ratios are just so different. In my experience, you can't just go 1 for 1. Even with hard white, you can't go 1 for 1. I know some people say you can, and they're just more okay with like denser, crumblier results. That's fine if that's you, but for me, I don't know, I guess I just can't quite, what's the word? For me, I'm just not satisfied with that. The second thing I found incredibly transformational was to allow your flour to sit in the wet ingredients for at least 10 to 15 minutes. For bread, I do 30 minutes. Basically, you mix everything together, and before you knead it, you just let it sit. That is what will soften the germ and bran and make so that you get a nice stretchy bread in the end. Number 3 is you just have to be very okay with your dough being extremely wet. Like, I could just hardly bear it because all of my bread making instincts were like, no, that's way too wet. But you just have to wait, and you have to trust the process, and you have to just be okay with not adding more flour. The other thing that helped me so much was to make sure that my dough actually reaches the window pane test. Like, being patient, sometimes you have to beat your dough in your mixer for like a solid 15 minutes before it actually is stretchy enough to perform the window pane test and not have it tear. But when you follow those steps, I have consistently been turning out beautiful stretchy bread every single week. I was determined I was gonna wait to show this to you guys until I feel like I've somewhat mastered the bread. I've been consistently turning out beautiful stretchy bread. So now that the wet ingredients are mixed with the flour, I'm just going to set this here, cover it with a towel, and it's gonna sit here for 30 minutes before I even need it at all. A lot of you have been wondering why I water my green stock the weird way, like why I don't just fill the reservoir up here. Honestly, I just grab my hose and just water everything the same way. With this hose reel up here, it's so easy just to grab it and quick just spray everything down. It literally just takes about 30 seconds to water it this way. I pulled the planter back out of the sun to water it because some of the greens were looking a little bit wilty and I didn't want to water those in the sun. That's really not good for them. So once they're dry, I'll move them back into the sun. I'm just starting to be able to harvest some of these herbs. I've been harvesting some cilantro. I'm gonna start harvesting this kale. This lettuce is looking amazing. These green onions are looking really great. And there's also some parsley on here. It's kind of weighed down with water at the moment. But this stuff, I'm gonna start harvesting this soon and it'll get really nice and bushy. I have been noticing that the kohlrabi and the red beets just kind of sit there, like they don't do a ton of growing. I think it's just because there's not nearly as much sun up here on the porch as they would get out in the garden. So it's taking quite a bit longer for those things to mature. But the greens, the radishes, those are all doing really great. I'm really liking these watering globes. I feel like they're working amazing. It takes them like a solid week and a half to completely empty out, which is really nice because it just keeps nice moisture in here. I do still water these with the hose whenever I water my other container garden, but this just keeps it from drying out completely. This apple mint is doing super well up here in this container. It's starting to like come over the side. This planter doesn't look as nice. This stevia is just sitting there and looking sadder every day. Hopefully it'll perk up. I'm not sure what's going on with it. I'm also really liking these oyas. I actually think that they work very similar to the watering globes, but they do empty out quite a bit faster. One thing that I have noticed is that a lot of my plants, like especially these broccoli, they have these like little white dots on the leaves. It doesn't really seem to be affecting the growth of the plants, but I don't know what it is. I have it on the kohlrabi, and I also noticed it over here on a few of the things. I'm not sure, is it just like an imbalance in the soil? I definitely need to do some research. If anybody knows what that could be, you can definitely let me know.
I'm going to steal Michelle's strawberry sauce that she's been making. This comes from our own strawberries, from our strawberry patch. They're just starting to grow, not enough that we can get an all-out harvest yet, but the children pretty much keep them picked and eaten at this point. But Michelle did manage to get some and make some strawberry sauce that she uses for her matcha. I'm gonna make a drink. I'm gonna use some lemonade Element. If you haven't heard, Element came out with a new flavor, lemonade. Still has their science-backed ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And this flavor is so good. It's a limited time flavor, so get it while you can. And like I said last time, if you've tried it by now, light up the comments, tell them that we want them to have this as a permanent flavor so we can keep getting it throughout the year. Going for strawberry lemonade here. Now you might notice that it's not quite as bright as a strawberry lemonade you might get from the grocery store or gas station. And that's because Element doesn't have colors in it. Well, that's good. We're finally starting to get some hot weather outside. When it's hot outside, we're working out there, we get all hot and sweaty. When you sweat, your body is losing electrolytes, and those need to be replaced. It can help with headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, things like that. If you're replacing those electrolytes like you should, Element is an electrolyte drink mix that we really, really love to use. And it's not just us crazy homesteaders that like to drink this. It's used by professional athletes, professional sports teams. It's used by special forces in the military, FBI, sniper teams. So if you haven't tried it yet, make sure to use the link in our description, drinkelement.com/morethanfarmers. And if you go to that link, you'll get a free sample pack of 8 single serving packets with any order.
This bread dough has sat now for 30 minutes, so I'm gonna turn it on, and it's so amazing. After it's sat this long, you start kneading it and it instantly just like stretches up. It's so cool. Once your dough starts balling up like this, I just like to grab a little hunk of it. I like to make my fingers wet and start stretching it like this. Oh, see, it tears, so that has not hit the window pane test yet. You want to be able to take your dough and be able to spread it so thin that you can see light through it without it tearing. And this is definitely still tearing. So with wet fingers, I'm just seeing. Ooh, look at that. So close to there. Very, very close. I'm gonna let it go for just a little bit longer. This big, sloppy mess has turned into this beautiful, smooth, stretchy ball of dough. Check that out. That is lovely. That right there is the window pane test. You can see through it without it tearing. You definitely want to dump this out on an oiled counter, not a floured counter, an oiled counter. It will stick if you don't oil it. I also oil the lid because this dough is so sticky that it just kind of sticks to everything while it's rising. I'm going to set this in a nice warm spot, and hopefully by around 3 or 4 o'clock today, I'll be able to shape this, put it in bread pans. I got a bit of a late start this morning, but normally I can be baking my bread by around 7 o'clock in the evening. I had my oven turned on this morning before breakfast, so I'm just going to stick this in here. It's just like a little bit warm yet in here. I might leave the light on, and that will help it to like retain some warmth, and that will rise much faster that way. Oh my goodness. Look at this chamomile plant. It is going absolutely bonkers. My squash finally came up. It took them forever. I think it was just because it's been really cold, which is also why my peppers are just sitting there and not looking great. They're just too cold. So hopefully the next few days, this beautiful sunshine will kind of help some of my stuff to do a little bit better. This stuff is looking really good. These peas, which are also, they kind of have that like brassica-like feel. They also have those little spots. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. Hopefully I can figure it out. These sweet potatoes up here, oh, this is looking really nice. Those are definitely taking off, and it's supposed to get really hot this week. Like, I say really hot. Like 84, I think is gonna be one day. And so I don't wanna have buckets over them when it's too warm, because they can kind of cook under the buckets. I have just a few more things that I want to put in containers that I just haven't gotten done yet. One of them is tiny little carrots. They're called little finger carrots that Tirza chose that she would like to plant. So I'm gonna let her plant those in one of these pots. And then I'm also gonna plant a quick snack cucumber, which is basically just mini cucumbers. They sound really cute and fun. So we're gonna plant those over here. I'm also adding soil to these potatoes as they get bigger. I just add more soil, and I'll continue doing that until it's at the top of this grow bag. They're looking really, really nice. Here you go, there you go. Okay, now just take this soil and just like sprinkle it over the top. Okay, so for cucumbers, you make a little hill. You put a couple on there and you just poke them gently in, and then you pat over top, okay? You always want to water in your seeds because it really helps for the dirt to get up against the seeds. That's good. One thing that I have been doing is coming out here and emptying the water out of these self-watering pots, these cheap ones that we got from Walmart. I just like the water down in there can get kind of smelly. You can see it's very brown and it gets really stinky. And I just don't feel like that is good for the plants. The plant doesn't dry out, I'll give it that. But I just don't like having that smelly water down there in the bottom. So I just dump them out, and I prefer to just give them fresh water every day. And I had in my head it would take a long time to water these plants. It doesn't. It literally takes me about 5 minutes to water the front garden and this garden, so not a big deal.
In our last video, I showed you all of our new honeybee swarms. And in between our last video and this one, I actually caught another swarm in a trap that I had at my in-laws' place. So that makes 4 swarms that I've caught this spring, and 3 of them are still in temporary homes. And I need a place for them to live. So I built a couple new hives. These are Layens hives, and these are actually bigger than the ones that I've got down there now. The ones that I've got down there now are a 14 frame hive. I decided to make it a little bit bigger. This will hold 20 frames, so I'll be able to give them a little more space. But anyways, these need to get painted. I want to get a primer on these really quick so that it can dry, and then we'll probably get 1 or 2 coats of paint on it yet. I'm gonna paint these a fun color, so let's get started. The reason these are in the back of my pickup truck is because I don't have a table saw here. So I built these over at my in-laws' place yesterday. These things are heavy. So this is only 2 hives, and I've actually got 3 colonies that need a permanent home. Got a package coming today that I am really excited about. I decided I'm gonna try 1 Langstroth hive. So I ordered one. It's supposed to come today. I did think about it after I bought it that it is gonna be a little tricky moving them from a Layen swarm trap into a Langstroth hive, but I've got an idea that I think I can make it happen.
Did you do this on purpose? Gosh, I took it out of the box, looked at the rules, and I selected your characters completely at random.
You know, like lip balm and cosmetics and cookware. I don't know, whatever girls carry around. I love it.
There's some spillage. Eight.
I picked up this can of paint on a clearance rack or something at a hardware store, so I'm not even exactly sure what color it is. It looks like it's some kind of red, so I think that'll be kind of fun for these. But we don't know for sure. We're gonna give it a try. Michelle wants to get into the garden and get that stuff done. I'm gonna get the boys started painting these hives for at least the first coat, and maybe I'll get to come help them with that, and then for sure help them finish up with the second coat.
Oh no.
I think it'll be all right.
It is high time to plant cucumbers. Technically, I should have probably planted these before, but it has been unseasonably cool this spring to the point that my peppers are not looking great. They're looking very cold. My basil is looking very cold. I should have probably kept them under covers, but I just thought maybe they would perk up if I took the bucket off because they just weren't looking great. And I'm pretty sure it's just because it's really chilly. Some of the nights have been like 40 degrees, and garden veggies just really don't love that. So I really think that these will do just as good now. Like they'll take off and catch up with all the other stuff in my garden. I have had a lot of issues historically with growing cucumbers. Hopefully this will be a good year for them. Last year was the first year that my cucumbers did well at all. So like it so often does, life happened and I ran out of cucumber seeds. I don't know, was it poor planning? I don't know, did I misplace them? But I ran out of seeds. So I guess I'm gonna have to just go to Walmart and get some cucumber seeds or Tractor Supply, see if they have a rack of organic cucumber seeds. I'm out here and I'm just feeling really stressed and overwhelmed because like pretty much all of my plants are dotted with these little dots. My container garden has it and my garden out here. And I'm just trying to make sense of it because there's nothing in common with soil when it comes to my container garden or this garden out here. We have fields around us. I'm wondering if they didn't spray and there was just like a tiny bit of overspray or something, which doesn't totally make sense, but pretty much every plant in my garden has these white specks on it. There's no bugs. It's been too cool for bug pressure anyways. So anyways, I just need to let it go. I don't think it's something that's going to destroy my garden. I'm sure they'll rebound, but like my green beans have it, broccoli, even the weeds in my garden have it. It's supposed to get really warm this week. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's supposed to get super warm this week, so I want to take these caps off of all of my sweet potatoes so that they don't cook under there. They are looking absolutely gorgeous. It's like 5 o'clock in the evening here, so I didn't want to take these covers off in the heat of the sun, like the heat of the day. I want them to be able to acclimate a little bit.
These have been under a bucket.
Yes.
And there's no spots.
No spots. Oh! These grew like crazy. I should have kept my peppers under buckets. I did mulch these sweet potatoes last week because it's much easier to mulch when the buckets are over them. It just makes so that the leaves for sure don't smush anything. I do like to keep a nice little ring of dirt out around these sweet potatoes without mulch so that the heat can really penetrate the soil because sweet potatoes are very heat loving. A strawberry patch is definitely one of my bigger homestead chores in the garden. It's one of those things that I have to break it down into small bits and pieces to make so that I can actually stay on top of it without going insane. I do most of the weeding in the strawberry patch, but I do send the kids out and I'll tell them, okay, so measure out 2 feet of a row of strawberries and pull all the grass in those 2 feet. And when we all help each other, it takes way less time, and that's how I stay on top of it. My patch is definitely not weed free, but it's definitely good enough. A bunch of these berries are nice and big and beautiful, but I do feel like this patch needs to be replaced in the very near future. We're not sure yet if we're gonna be replacing it this year, but I would really like to. We're just going to see how it works out.
It's almost supper time. I want to go out and finish painting the beehives. I don't think it'll take us very long, but I saw that the UPS or FedEx or somebody left a package out here by the barn. Hoover Hives, our new beehive. I don't think I'm going to get it put together today. It's already starting to get late. Still got some stuff to do, but this is pretty exciting. This is a wax dipped hive, so I'm not gonna need to paint it or anything. It's gonna be a nice pretty wood grain. That looks fun. Hopefully in our next video, I will be getting this all set up and getting bees in here. Hives are painted. I think it's a really fun color. I did look it up and supposedly it's not necessarily the best for beehives to be red. I really highly doubt it makes that much of a difference. But I was gonna get Michelle to paint a nice design on the front of these anyways, so that'll break it up. And I'm gonna have her do that, but I'm guessing it won't get done this evening, so you probably won't get to see it until our next video.
So after all I said this morning about perfecting this process, of course today I totally overproofed my dough. The dough got too warm in my bottom oven because I used the top, and then I didn't grease one of the pans right so the loaf wouldn't pop out of the pan. So yeah, this bread looks a little wonky, but it still turned out pretty soft and stretchy. To give you a visual of what my loaves normally look like that aren't over fermented, here's a clip from my Instagram. Since I'm freaking sad on it.